Here's a good question that we've had a few times. No, it's not a very regular question, but it's interesting. I saw an ad from another one of your dentist clients in my area. Can't you give me exclusivity? So first of all, this happens very rarely. Why is it a bad thing? What is behind this? There's a feeling there that we're playing both sides. We're somehow disloyal to our client, maybe to both clients. There's a fear of losing out because maybe the other client is cheaper or maybe better, has more experience. And then there's just also this feeling of tightness, of like needing exclusivity, that everything has to be for you. There's not enough. And I think that's a good place to start with. That's a scarcity mindset. When in fact there's really an abundance of leads out there. I mean, there are no clients that we have that have budgets so unlimited, so big, that they can satisfy the demand in their local area. Usually, I mean, unless they're in a remote area of the United States. If you're in a major city, even a middle-sized city, there's no way you can take all the patients, right? You can't be 100%, showing for every single procedure. It just can't be done. There's too many people searching. So the idea is people can share, and we have tools that we use to keep competitors away from each other, whether it's by geography or by time of day or day of the week. For instance, if somebody's open on a Saturday and they have a competitor nearby who's not open on a Saturday, it would make sense to advertise the one who's open on a Saturday for that Saturday opportunity, and to find other days of the week that work better for the other client. You should know as well that when we start the process of looking at a new client, we have a map that we plug those coordinates into, and we say, we have a frank conversation, myself and Isaac. We'll talk about, can we take this client? Is this client in a no-go zone? Will this destroy, other people's marketing campaigns? We obviously think about that on a regular basis, even before we take people. The other thing to think about is we've actually had people, and this was a few years ago, so nobody needs to worry about it now. But a few years ago, we had two clients, both in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they were in next door buildings to each other, both dentists. And we carried on with, there were absolutely no issues. Why were there no issues? We didn't even have to worry about geography or time. They were both running all the time. And the nice thing was that their procedures separated them. One of them was an implant-focused dentist, so implants, denture stabilization, all on 4. And the other one was into Invisalign, cosmetics, smile makeover, veneers, crowns. So they were almost in separate businesses. So that's another way that we separate people out, by procedure. In terms of Google ads in particular, there's been a lot of, maybe we would call it taking liberties by Google. Often what we'll do is in a certain area, we'll give, certain chunks, certain zip codes to a particular client that we have. And then sometimes we'll do exclusions around them, right? Areas around them, like a donut. Area inside the donut is where we want to advertise. And then outside we put like a little ring of exclusions. So what we've seen that Google does sometimes is they'll say, well, there's somebody 40 miles away here, which is not in the center where we actually told them we want to advertise, but it's also not excluded because it's not in the donut part. It's outside of the donut. Maybe we can show the ads there. So they do sometimes show ads way out, 40 minutes away, an hour away, 2 hours away. And they do that sometimes. I'm not even saying that they take liberties. They have a hard time with geo-targeting. It is a difficult area. We're aware of this happening. So sometimes those donuts sometimes essentially it becomes the rest of the state. Sometimes when we're nervous, sometimes it becomes a whole other country. If you're in the northern area of the United States, in Maine or in Washington State, we may make Canada an exclusion in its entirety. We don't want people from Canada. We don't want people who are maybe going to come across the border to the United States. We're just not going to do that. So we exclude the entire country. In terms of geo-targeting, there are a lot of challenges that Google has, legitimate challenges. So sometimes it's not just that they're not thinking malevolently, oh, let's go over there and find somebody who's way out in the boonies and maybe they'll come. They're actually tricked sometimes by the way people access the ads and the search results pages. Sometimes they're logged in to Google, sometimes they're not logged in. Sometimes they're in incognito mode, sometimes they're on a desktop, sometimes on mobile. If they're on mobile, sometimes they can work out the location of that mobile device, sometimes they can't. Sometimes there's an ISP involved, where I used to have, I live in Miami, and my ISP used to run out of South Beach, but I'm not anywhere near South Beach. So that used to be a big problem in the olden days. It used to be a huge problem at Starbucks, and people might remember this. Maybe it was even 15 years ago now. Starbucks used to always run out of Seattle because that was where the headquarters were. So you went to a Starbucks, all the ads you were seeing were for Seattle. They sorted that issue out. But they have micro versions of that issue all the time. They can't tell where people are. People are using VPNs, right? They're using VPNs to keep, privacy. It's a good idea to use a VPN, but that makes it extra difficult for Google to know exactly where you are. So a lot of it is just that geo-targeting is hard. So it's not always 100%. I would say that in any situation where we've had client overlap, if we can't do it to 100% effectiveness, we usually get it to around 85-90% effectiveness, which means there's maybe overlap 10% of the time. If that's still a huge problem, sometimes what this means is that the competitive environment of Google Ads is itself overwhelming for that particular dentist. And that if for instance it's all about price, and price is going crazy on Google, everybody's offering a lower price than the next person, sometimes the best idea is to get out of Google Ads and go to another platform which is not so competitive. When you're on Instagram or when you're on Facebook, those venues are one at a time ads. You're scrolling through your iPhone and you see ads one at a time. There's not a page with literally 7 ads, all of which have a price for the service that you're offering. So sometimes it's a deeper issue, and sometimes you do need to get away from Google Ads, and sometimes that's the right move for people.